Greetings, homestead defenders. Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to Manor Lords, Episode 3, Training Militia. Alright. It's October, so I'm going to start to employ people working in the farmhouse. It's going to be way more than they can handle. So I just assigned one of the livestock, one of the oxen to them. And I'm also going to designate this farm field for them to work in. The reason for that is if I start farm fields over here, let's say, I don't really want the farmhouse workers here to run across the map to the other farm fields. So it's useful to designate them a work area. But you can only paint circles, so, you know, have it be somewhat contained so that you can contain it that way. And I wouldn't mind the... So I have a decent amount of planks. I have 21 planks, so I'm going to fire one of these sawmill workers to put them in the farmhouse as well. Or families. I should start calling them families, because technically that's what they are. I also have 14 months of fuel, so I'm going to get rid of one of the woodcutters and put them in the farmhouse as well. Basically, I'm trying to ramp up farming for next season. If you ever have questions about the game, the help docs are generally pretty okay. Sometimes they don't have information, which can be a little frustrating. But in terms of like tooltips, these generally link to one another, sort of. It's pretty cruel stab at like a in-game wiki, but it's better than nothing. So you can rely on that. But in terms of farms, your farmhouse is used to employ families on the field. Farm workers plow as soon as the winter passes, but no later than November. Then, and that doesn't make sense to me, but whatever. Then they sow their chosen crop, which happens around September. And then, of course, there's harvest at the end of the summer. So it's one of those, you have to, prep a farm field well in advance for it to do anything. And it's October now, so... we're going to want to be plowing this season. So as you can see, they're plowing by hand, and then this oxen is brought in. Oh, no, not that one. Huh. Where is our farm oxen? Oh, there it is. Here is the farm oxen plowing the fields, the barley fields. Now, if you want to prioritize, and I do, I'm going to prioritize the wheat field over the barley field because I'd rather have bread than beer for the first year. Because you can live without beer, you can't live without bread. Well, I guess that's not true if you're an alcoholic. But you can physically see where it's been plowed and how they're going about it.
Come on, laddie, come on.
Yeah, I'm going to pull a hunter out and leave him as construction too. This is year 1 still, or year 0. And you can see the progress. 23% done plowing the barley field, 41% for the wheat field. We obviously haven't touched the fallow field. It's fallow. So, like, one oxen has plowed the field about half a quarter of a field, whereas, like, 5 workers have done 44%. So the oxen speeds things up a lot. Oh, and I'm starting to get vegetables and eggs for food variety. So if we take a look at our market here... People are... So these houses are slightly further from the market, as you can see, so they're not getting the food variety or fuel or clothing because they lack the proximity to the market. So these houses are definitely contenders to stay Burgage level 1 plots, and at least until there's more marketplace setups. Now, you can have multiple marketplaces, but if your initial marketplace is too large, people are going to prioritize setting up shops in that larger marketplace. At least anecdotally, that's what I found. Meaning that it's really hard for shops to be set up strategically. So I generally find that like setting up multiple smaller marketplaces, each marketplace accommodating, let's say, like 5 or 6 stalls is kind of the better approach, because that way it's not everything all in one big clump cluster that isn't accessible to everyone. All right. Approval is pretty good. Market food variety and clothing market supply. Looking good. I'm not... Alright, the constructors are now working again to build the church. And the church requires a lot of goods and stone and planks and all that, so it takes a while to build. It's not a quick thing. Tannery can still keep working. I have 15 hides to turn into leather. This field is 75% done. It's flickering. It's hard to read. Can you stop? Okay. It says 70-something, but I don't want to get a seizure, so I'm going to stop trying to read it. And no bandits right now. Good. I think I am going to prioritize some additional housing over the church, because I prefer a little bit of immigration over the church being done. And I'm also going to hire a 4th ox now that it's been 30 days. In fact, it's probably been more like 60. Oh, look at that! That just got about all plowed.
Come along, lad.
Yeah, they're just polishing up the last few spots of it. But that, yeah, 100%. The other one's at almost 100. 93%. Pretty good. Okay, some extra housing so that people can actually start moving in. Perfect. As you can see, the houses take almost no time at all to build compared to the church, which, you know, takes a much, much longer time.
It's a veritable masterpiece of carpentry.
Alright, these houses are going to be chicken coop houses. I have a lot of regional wealth, so I might as well just invest it as much as I can. And now back to the church, which only needs 3 stone to be delivered and then constructed. I'm also going to add an herb garden to the forager's hut so that they can grow herbs out there, which is useful for medicine. Although, I don't think anyone ever gets sick. But it's like a... It's a commodity that people like. I don't really need to upgrade my granary size right now, because I have plenty of space. But maybe when I start really farming large scale, that will be different. You can also start to see the deforestation, but this is intentional deforestation. I want to get rid of all these trees so I can build in that direction. But there is a forestry hut. So I'll go over some of the other work facilities I haven't covered. So the forester's hut regrows forests. You can unlock charcoal kilns, which allow you to take 1 timber and turn it into 2 charcoal, doubling the effectiveness of heating. And an apiary allowing you to beekeep, but you can only have 2 apiaries per region. So it's not a really good source of food for a high pop area, because it doesn't give you a lot of honey. So each region can have 2 apiaries. So like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 apiaries in the entire map possible. And at that point, you've already won if you have all 16. All right, other facilities that I haven't covered. I think that's about it. Yeah, I think that's about it. Oh, I could start working on the manor, though. Once I hit a small village. But I'm not quite there yet. But the church is just about done. and people are moving into these new housing units. So there's the wooden church. So employing someone in the wooden church has them as a gravedigger. So it's not your church supplies the amenity without someone actually being there in it. So as you can see, this burgage plot is all set to hit level 2, as is this one, as is this one, and this one. So that's 4 level 2s, and I only need 2 of them. And now I'm out of timber. So I could have even more level 2s, but I'm straight up out of timber. So I'm gonna do some more logging. And winter is here.
Come on, laddie. Come on.
So, maybe have you as vegetable. Any day now. Took him extra long to build the fence because it's larger.
Well, perhaps it was simply a bad
Oh, and the tavern's done.
These things do happen from
I don't have alcohol, so there's really not much of an advantage to be running a tavern at the moment. I'm not going to leave anyone working in there because, you know, there's no benefit. But the some of the level 2 houses are getting done. So I'll need one more constructed, and there we go! Settlement level increased of Yodaville. So here are some of the other technological advances that we can choose. Orchardry allows you to have an expansion slot for apple orchards, and after about 3 years it starts producing full-fledged apples. Up until then, it's partial yield. You've got bakeries, which allows you to have a house specialized as artisan bakers, which is twice as efficient as the communal oven, which is kind of nice to have. There's also fertilization, allowing you to use fallow fields as a pasture, which rapidly restores lost fertility. That's only really useful if you pair that with pasture animals like sheep. This leads to irrigation, which lowers the amount of damage caused by droughts. And rye cultivation, unlocking rye, which is more robust than emmer flour, or emmer wheat. Trapping, which allows your hunters to lay traps to have a passive income of meat, which is pretty useful because meat is hard to supply otherwise, which leads to more hides from traps and more hides from goat pens and butchery. Forest management to double the capacity of the berry deposits, and beekeeping, as I mentioned before, which leads to advanced beekeeping, which allows them to collect wax. Down below, you have basic armor making, advanced, and master armor making. And I did mention this earlier in the stream, but basically you can buy armor, so these are completely pointless development points, in my opinion, because the cost of buying armor is really not too expensive. There is charcoal burning, which leads to deep mining, allowing you to upgrade to a deep mine, which requires it to be a rich deposit. I don't really find this to be all that necessary, because by the time you're going to win your scenario well before you need to construct a deep mine, realistically. And then on the right, you have foreign suppliers, which allows you to build a firewood cart and a food cart, which is a permanent stall for passive income of firewood and bread, which uses regional wealth to pay for it. And then trade logistics, which allows you to establish trade routes at a capped cost, because otherwise importing cheap things like meat doesn't cost a lot of regional wealth, but importing things like beer, like full-fledged beer, not like barley or malt, but beer would be very, very expensive. So this allows you to import things cheaper. I think I would like to rely on myself I will demonstrate some trade, but I want to rely on trade as little as possible. So I'm going to go apple orchardry here, working towards irrigation to lower the effect of droughts. So if we wanted apple orchardry, it would be helpful for me to set up a few houses that are like designed to be awesome apple orchards, which would look something silly like this, where they have giant extension slots out back. Well, there's something in the way here, but you get the concept of like the idea is that these houses never become high level houses, but they have giant backyards to allow for a lot of trees. I'm not going to do that just yet, but it's something I'll work on once the other construction projects are done. We're also getting the stonecutter camp built, and the clay and the iron, which is going to be really useful, because at Burgage Plot Level 2, we can start specializing the houses to replace shields and weapons that we need. So I can turn, and I do plan on it once these two houses are done. This one is now going to, and let me update the priority here. Build up the militia to 36 spearmen. That's the goal. So this house is going to be joiners, and then this house is going to be blacksmiths. And as a result, wherever this family was working, they stopped, and now they're joiners, which means I don't have anyone unassigned to do work. So I'm going to have to pull from somewhere else, like a logging camp. And the same will be the same will take effect once I do the blacksmith as well. So the joiners are going to make large shields needed for spearmen, and then the blacksmiths are going to make spears needed for spearmen. In order to do the spears, I'm going to need to put people working in the iron mines, and then I'm going to need to put people working in a bloomery to process that iron into actual iron, the iron ore into iron metal. So let's also build a bloomery right here, right next to the large storehouse. So here, you can see that the people now living in here are joiners, making the large shields, which require planks. So they're going to be drawing down the planks that I have to replace the shields, and we want to get 36 shields total and 36 spears total, and I have, I think, 18 of them? 19 of them. Alright, this plot. Destroy the vegetable garden and become blacksmiths. And again, wherever they were working is now filled up, so I need to free up, let's say, maybe the tanner for now. And we need to grow our population so that I can actually get people working in the iron mine and the bloomery and all that. Which is why I have built all these extra houses that I hope people move into soon. And in order to level up to a large village, I need 2 more level 2 houses, so the houses across the street will be a level 2. So essentially, the houses closest to the marketplace are the ones I'm prioritizing to grow to a higher level because they're the easiest to supply from the marketplace. And people are moving in. Perfect.
Have you marked the joists of the rafters already?
All right. Don't make... Actually, how many tools do I have? 17? Okay, yeah. Go straight to spears. So spears is 1 plank, 1 iron slab, and then the shields are 2 planks. And the other thing to make note is keep an eye on them, because you don't want an uneven amount. Like, I don't need 200 shields and 25 spears because I'm not going to be able to use the shields. So as soon as I get 36 shields, or let's say like 40, so that I have some spare shields for losages, turn off the joiner or change their work priorities. So once I have those shields, I can either start making like wooden parts or small shields for other purposes, or just to pause it and essentially have these joiners not be employed, which is a little weird, but that's just the best way to do it that I've found. And there we go. We are now a large village. So to become a small town, I need Burbage Plot Tier 3, which is a much bigger jump technologically than Tier 2. So what Tier 3 requires here is a tavern supply and a higher level church and either shoes, clothes, or cloaks. So advanced clothing. The tavern supply is probably the hardest because that means you need to grow barley, process the barley into malt at a malt house, and then have a Tier 2 family become brewers to brew that malt into beer, and then people working in the tavern to serve that beer. So it's a rather time-consuming supply chain. Everything else is not too time-consuming. The other thing to note is these individual houses now at Tier 2 will passively increase the regional wealth. They're essentially paying taxes. It's 1 regional wealth per family per month for a level 2 plot. So initially, at the start of the game when I only had level 1 houses, I would need to go clear out the bandit camps to make any regional wealth to be able to reinvest. Now I will have some passive income, which is nice. Do the houses change appearance when they level up? They do. So as you can see, the original ones are thatch, and the level 2s are wooden sort of shingles and Tudor style. I don't know. I'm not like an architectural historian, but it looks more Tudor. And this looks more like mud... what is that called? The mud thatch brick, whatever. And the level 3s look even fancier. We did get the windmill going. Daub, yeah. Cob or daub houses, yeah, thanks. I don't need to use the windmill until I actually have wheat, so that's going to be a while. And the communal oven. Likewise, I don't need the communal oven running until I have flour, so going to be a while. What I do want to do is to get the mining pit going, because I essentially want replacement gear for any time bandit camps pop up. Because if I keep sending my conscripted spear militia out, eventually they're going to die off and lose their equipment. I have 24 military age males to be fighting, but I only have equipment for 19 of them. So I have a weaker military than I otherwise could if I actually had invested in it. So here we go. I'm going to get 1 iron miner now. Here, what I can say is I can reserve fuel for the bloomery, so they don't need to fuel up as often. I like to do that. The other thing I might want to do is to get some additional animals to help out. So I'm going to do another hitching post. I'm going to put it over here. You can have people work permanently in hitching posts, and they work as logistics to move things around. I just don't have the population to support people working pure logistics at the moment. And I've also just fired the forager and the 3 farmers so that they can work to cut down some timber and saw some planks while I wait for spring. We also have another development point, and I am going to go with irrigation, as I mentioned before, to limit the effects of droughts. Because I am going to be very reliant on farming. I'm assuming I clicked that. I don't know. Yeah, good. People are moving in. The higher their approval rating, the better. Do I already have iron ore? I do. All right, so let's get someone in the bloomery. And then very quickly we will replace those spears that I need. Because I am already up to 25 shields. So I've already made 6 shields in the time that I set up the joiner shop.
Never.
So I'll set a few houses over here, specifically as like orchards. Actually, I could probably do better than that. Let's see if I can make it really weird shaped. Sometimes if you go like super weird diagonal, you can have really large extension slots for big orchards. A lot of the times it requires a bit of like fussing, right? To get right. Maybe my granary is here, so maybe like right next to the granary. Although this person out here won't have any, you know, I'll keep everyone in town because they're not going to have any sort of food market place to help them. So these houses I can have as apple orchards. Okay, we already have 6 iron slabs, so those spears are common. And I am starting to move people back into the farmhouse to prepare for the farming season. Yeah, I know you can make a big plot and then use the plus or minus. I just realized that like putting them out here means that they're not going to have any marketplace access, and that's probably not ideal. Ooh, a bandit camp. Bottom left corner. All right, let's go to it. I've already made 1 spear, so we're back up to fighting force of 20. And I'm going to have them all walk. Bandit camp is there, so I'm going to have them walk to this open field. Walk, not run. No, walk. To this open field and wait for the bandits to come out of the woods. Because they're dumb and they will oblige. A new message. Oh, so there's a band of raiders roaming nearby lands that want to attack us. Let's track their movements, and I have 1 year to prepare for the attack. Challenge accepted. And it looks like another ruler's army is... So, an army from probably this dude is just got conscripted. They're not attacking me. They're probably going for the bandits, but I'm going to beat them there because I'm closer. So you are essentially competing with the other barons to clear out the bandits, and bandits are... There's a lot of money in clearing out bandits, so, you know, do it. As I've said before. So we have 8 spare shields, but 0 spare spears. Trying to keep those 2 numbers even. And we're starting to plant. Planting the barley and the wheat. I have made the wheat higher priority. Oh, and yeah, 1 more ox. I'm also getting public disorder, so it should be... Soon I'll build a manor house. Hey, bandits. Yeah, while the enemy barons are fighting the bandits, you can just, like, just go to the camp and steal it. But I'd rather have the influence, too. Because with this influence I get from defeating this bandit group, I'm very close to being able to annex new territory. I'm only 40 influence away from being able to claim a new land for myself. Which is, honestly, like a huge part of the worth. Yep, they were coming down here to do it. I beat them to it. In fact, he hired out mercenaries. This is the Flock of Crazy Grease mercenary army that was hired to deal with those bandits, and I took it first. I am going to send to the nearest town. And then have these guys run back and disband. How's aging in the game? There is none. People die and get replaced, but there's no, like, births or deaths or anything like... Well, there's deaths, but no births or anything like that. There's no, like, families. And so, you know, here's the people, and if, like, a soldier dies, they would just get replaced.
My liege. Advance your orders.
Disband. You could get named in the game, but the individuals have such inconsequential roles that I'm not bothering. Because you'd never notice yourself more than once. Like, so I could go click Beatrix and rename Beatrix, but, like, she's just a dot on the map. Alright, I need to get... we still have leather. I should put people back in foraging, though. So, who can I borrow from? Maybe the saw pit? Because the food is seasonal, and I like food variety. That's important to keep people happy, so... Okay, these are going to be my orchards. They're not going to benefit me for a bit because it takes a while for the apple orchards to grow, but eventually we'll have apples as yet another source, and I'll set this one up as a orchard as well. In fact, let's set this entire corner up as orchards. There we go. So those 6 houses are all orchard houses. These are all chicken coop, and then these are vegetable garden, goats, and specialized. I have 5 empty houses, so we still have a little bit of room for people to move in. How's our shields? So we have got 30 shields, 25 spears. I have to keep an eye on those shields, because I probably only want like 40-ish. Because at some point, they use up planks. So I've definitely, when playtesting this, I ran into situations where I was like, oh, I ignored my cobbler, and now I have 300 shoes. And 50 people, you know? And I made way too much. So, like, definitely avoid situations like that. If you can help it. Okay, they're making new food stalls. That should help. Some of the houses that have no food variety are just because no one was living in them. So, like, this house, I think, literally just got people moving in. Yeah, well, maybe not. This house just got people moving in. So if you take a look at the supplies, like, it might not be as well supplied just because there's been no one to actually physically supply it. Now let's see. How is our progress on the farm? So the barley fields is 45% sown. Hello, they're like neglecting the wheat field for some reason, even though I have it set as a higher priority. So I already have the all of the non-level 3 plots set up. So once I have the spear militia set back up, where we're 30 out of 36, I'm going to work to get up to a small town. That was weird. I like moved someone out of the farm and they disappeared immediately. I don't know what happened there. The iron deposit is about half tapped. Got it. Up to 34 of the shields. And I have only 34 military age males, I think. Oh no, now I have 36. Because people just moved in. So I can field an entire platoon's probably the wrong word, but I'm going to call it squad, whatever. Group, militia. So I'm going to go slightly over the shield requirements. But just, and slightly over the spear requirements. And one way to do that is to set up another squad, just to see the totals. So I can see I have 42 shields. So let's go ahead and stop our joiners. We don't need to be burning through our planks anymore, getting more shields than we have, than we need, right? Now we're just doing the spears. And that does mean that the people working in the joiner shop are literally not doing it anymore. They just hang out and do nothing. So it's one of the reasons not to specialize more than you really need to, because it's essentially like dead weight if they're not currently producing. Which can be expensive. Okay, there's our 36th spear. I do want to go a little over, so I'm going to wait until we get 43 spears, so I have the same amount of spears and shields. And that way, if people die, we have replacement gear if I need to re-enlist. We are also only one empty house in this town now, so let's get some additional housing. Maybe I'll just do 3 here, and then have like a corner house. Plot too small. Come on, that's a pretty big plot. 3 corner houses. Alright, that's a bit much. I'll leave it for now. Our bow's worth it. Bows are really cheap to make because it only requires 1 specializer, right? It only requires 1 house to be a bowyer. The thing is, I would say, my 2 cents on the matter, every single bandit group are melee. You pretty much never see bandit ranged. And if you don't have more melee units than the bandits have it. So I'll propose a scenario. Let's say you have 3 bandits coming and you have 1 spear and 2 bow. Your spear will engage 1 of their melee units, and then their other 2 melee units are going to overrun your bows. So I would say bows are really useful if you have as many melee as the enemy has melee. But if the enemy has more melee than you do, your bows are just going to get bogged down by melee units and die. So they're cheap to recruit, but they're very vulnerable as a result, which is why I generally don't use them. They're also not super effective. It's not one of those games. It's not like Total War, where like I remember playing Total War and I would just have like 16 units of slingers or bowmen and just like completely turn the enemy into liquid. This game, your bow range is pretty short, and if you have like, let's say 3 bow units doing a volley on bandits, they might kill like 2 or 3 bandits before the bandits close the distance. And it's just not enough. It's not effective enough to say, oh, mass bowmen, because you're going to need so many bowmen to make that effective. Whereas if you just put like 1 unit in like armor as a retinue unit, they could wipe out the same amount of bandits, but without having to enlist like 400 bowmen. You know what I mean? I can make bowmen once I have a little bit more population, so that I can specialize them, just to demonstrate their essentially ineffectiveness, if you'd like. Thank you for tuning in to Manor Lords, which originally streamed live on Twitch April 16th. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you would like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you would like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rhadamant.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching, and a special thank you to my Patreon patrons, Twitch subscribers, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. Hope to catch you next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow Manor Lords.